have today. All curiosity has led to all of our architecture, math, everything, art, everything.
The transistor, like, you know the story of the transistor?
Yeah.
So Bell Labs was basically employing as many, like history adjusted, as many telephone engineers back then as the number of software engineers today. But only 3 people cared enough to question whether you should use these really hot giant vacuum tubes for amplifying telephone signals. So vacuum tubes were very big, power hungry, and very hot, and so they were not fault tolerant, and it's very expensive. And so 3 people questioned the need for that and came up with the idea of the transistor to amplify current. And that was the Nobel Prize winning discovery. And not just that it was useful to amplify telephone signals, it basically led to the rise of modern computing, and we wouldn't have an iPhone like this today if not for those 3 people.
Do you know what the tinfoil hat conspiracy theory about transistors is?
No.
That they are back engineered from the Roswell crash, along with fiber optics.
Tell me more.
So we read this on the podcast. Remember, Jamie, there's the 2 scientists that were attributed. There's this one scientist that said they weren't even remotely exceptional guys, and that they gave them the credit for this so that they didn't have to reveal the true nature of where this technology came from.
I see. Interesting.
So, again, tinfoil hat securely on our heads. This is not something I believe.
Okay.
This is just something that's fun. There's a few inventions that came out of that time period, roughly after 1947, that are weird. And one of them is fiber optics, and one of them is a transistor. And these are supposedly attributed to back engineering programs. So the Roswell crash, I don't know if you ever paid any attention to it, it's a real weird one, because the cover of the Roswell Daily Record said that the government has a crash disk that landed in the desert. A bunch of witnesses, a bunch of people saw it. It's also people that supposedly saw physical bodies of these creatures, and supposedly, again, who knows what's true. But Truman went to the site, he visited it, and then the planes, 2 separate planes, were flown to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which was, I think it was just Wright Base back then. I don't think it was Wright-Patterson. But they flew them out, and the idea was this material was so important they didn't want to risk one plane crashing, so they flew it in 2 different planes, and that this stuff has always been known to be stored at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That's what everybody always talks about. And then a lot of it was moved to Bell Labs, and there was a company called the American Computer Company, and back in the day the American Computer Company was just like, it was a consumer website where you could go and say, oh, I need a Windows computer that does this, that, and the other thing. And you could just put in whatever your specs were, and they would build it for you. But they had a whole section of their website dedicated to Bell Labs and back-engineered UFO technology. And all they talked about in this one, like, whoever ran it was like a fucking kook. I don't know. Is that still around?
That website?
Yeah. American Computer Company, is it still around?
Interesting.
So this is like the 1990s, I think.
So you're saying your theory, I mean, not that you believe in it, but your theory is that the transistor was not like invented, it was known and it was given to the...
There's apparently a giant leap between the first ideas of the transistor and then what actually came about, and how much money had to be spent to create it off of this leap. This was this assertion by these scientists that were trying to examine this. The thing about Bell Labs is there's a military base right outside of Bell Labs. And they say, well, that military base is to guard New York City. But New York City is quite a flight away. But Bell Labs is right there.
Yeah.
And they were working on some deep, dark shit at Bell Labs for sure. Because I've had a bunch of people on that were talking about remote viewing exercises that they were doing out of Bell Labs. You know, we've had a bunch of people that came on and talked about various programs that were going on that were like top secret programs that were happening that were being run through Bell Labs. Like, there's some weirdness to that place, like real weirdness.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's fun.
Yeah.
The idea that like, you know, that...
Because it definitely feels very disconnected. Like, okay, like you were using all these vacuum tubes, and then suddenly you're like, okay, like what if we just use semiconductors? Okay, there's definitely a pretty far drift from what you're doing currently to what you're supposed to do. And And also the idea of the first transistor and what ended up being used in chips, the junction transistor, are quite different too. So there are like big leaps in terms of what the core idea was. It's not an incremental change. The way I thought about it was like, okay, that's like tens of years of work, and that's why they made a big change. And so if you actually looked into the individual milestones they had, maybe it would have looked pretty different. But your conspiracy theory is pretty interesting. Like,
it's always fun.
yeah.
And also there's just too many stories of this. And David Grush has, on oath said that there are back engineering programs, and he was read into these, and that they've been around for a long time. But this is the assertion of that movie, The Age of Disclosure, that the real problem is that they have misappropriated funds and lied to Congress. And so if they come out and tell you, okay, we do have this program, well, guess what? Everybody goes to jail because you guys are a bunch of liars, and you've been stealing money, and you've been doing it whatever you want to do with this money. I don't know, like, how much oversight is there on back engineering UFO programs? So probably a lot of people get in trouble. A lot of people go to jail. On top of that, these things are all being done by weapons manufacturers, right? Like, where are you going to bring them to? Well, you're going to bring them to Lockheed Martin, or you're going to bring them to, Rocketdyne, or it's going to be someone that does that kind of work.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it on your, it's not going to be like, we'll do it. No, you're going to have to bring it to people that already make spaceships, or bring it to people that already make jets.
Yeah.
And so they have a massive competitive advantage over any other company that's doing it. So then there's other companies that also had contracts with the United States government, they can sue. And so he lays out all the problems with disclosure. And their assertion is that the only thing, what we need, if we really want to find out the truth, is we're going to need widespread amnesty for all these people that were involved. My problem with that is that's what I would say too. If I had been stealing money for decades and decades, I'd be like, we need amnesty, and then I'll tell you where all this stuff is. I'm like, how do we know what this stuff is, whether or not these are just top secret military programs with advanced propulsion technology that's unavailable to the public, and they're going to say that it's aliens, and they back engineered this and they did that? Like, they clearly don't want to tell people. They don't want people to know. I think a large part of it is probably because they could get in trouble. But I think also a large part of it is because it's fun to keep secrets from people.
Yeah.
Especially when you're the government. Why tell them? Fuck those people.
Yeah. Fuck
them. They don't even know UFOs are real. Meanwhile, we're going into a bunker in the middle of the mountain and we're remote viewing. It's probably, there's probably a lot of fun involved in having access to information that most people would kill for.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much information that we just don't have access to.
Which brings me to this question. It seems like one of the things that's happening with both with AI and with technology in general is that you have more and more access to information and more answers to questions than ever before.
Yeah.
At a certain point in time, there's going to be no bottleneck.
Yeah.
And we're going to know everything about everything.
Yeah.
So how is anyone in government going to keep a secret? How is any corruption ever going to be possible? At a certain point in time, all of it will get uncovered. Like, it's much more difficult to commit murder now with DNA evidence, right? But back in the 1800s, like, I didn't see nothing. I wasn't there. And then you're free. Like, now they do your fingerprints. Now they get your DNA. Now there's flock cameras. There's like more and more and more. It's harder to get away with things.
Yeah.
So it seems like to me, like, whatever they have, whatever anybody has, ultimately there's going to come a point in time where there's so much data and so much information, and you could run all your questions. Like, there's an AI fact checker for politicians now.
Yeah.
So while a politician is giving a speech, you can run an AI fact checker, and in real time, it will tell you whether or not these people are full of shit. It seems like the direction is there's not going to be anybody full of shit in the future because it's not going to be possible.
Yeah. I mean, the government still would have access to things that we human beings wouldn't have access to, like regular people. And particularly defense-related, weapons-related. Like, for example, when they did the Venezuelan thing, I don't think people in Venezuela even understood, like, what even those weapons were.
I don't think we did.
They
right?
were described as like, they were described as something. The literal words used were like alien-like technology. So we didn't know that the United States had access to that quality of defense technology until that incident happened. So there are obviously going to be secrets, right? Especially the highest stakes things. I would say like building frontier AI models is similar to that. Of course, as more and more models are getting open source, I think the knowledge is diffusing, but still the true amount of details that you need to actually train a really amazing frontier reasoning capability model is still not like widely diffused. So my hypothesis is that whatever is extremely high stakes will still not be widely diffused. It'll at least there'll be enough structures in place to keep it secret.
Forever?
Not forever, but for a while.
For a while.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Long term, sure. Like things do get out and people do
But it feels
understand.
like long term is what I'm looking at. Like, look, when we're looking at history, we're talking in these, like when we're looking at all these different temples and all these different things, we're talking about thousands and thousands of years. And thousands of year time span in between each individual one. With our world, we're talking about massive change in 200 years.
Yeah.
Like this country's 250 years old. Think about how kooky that is.
Yeah.
That is a blink of an eye in history.
But do we understand everything that happened in the United States?
No.
Exactly. So there are still some details that are
Sure.
hidden from us. Like we don't fully understand everything, right?
For now.
Yeah.
But my question is, as time goes on, 250 years from now, is it even possible to keep any secrets from anybody? And is that a good thing? It might be a good thing. It sounds horrible to people because they're like, oh my God, what about privacy? Right, but also what about lies?
Yeah.
No more lies? Like everyone's going to know what you're thinking? Everyone's going to know everything people do all the time?
Yeah. I mean, if you're a true surveillance state, obviously there are no secrets.
Right.
Except about the government itself.
But that's the problem.
Yeah.
Does it bottleneck with the government, or does it get to a point where you can't even have government secrets? Because as technology evolves and as human civilization evolves, secrets will be less and less, not just necessary, but secrets will be problematic because they'll be an impediment to knowledge. They'll be an impediment to understanding the true scope of what the world is, like the true nature of all of our various moving parts.
Yeah. I mean, as long as the human quality, the intrinsic human quality of curiosity and truth-seekingness, which is, universal, it's existed ever since we know human beings. If that continues and that continues to be the case, then people will have enough incentives to figure out the truth.
Yeah.
And if something is actually hard to get to, it only motivates you more to actually go and find it.
For sure. So my question is, where does this all go? And you obviously work in AI. And when you think about AI and when you think about just technology in general and you extrapolate, you just take it from here and you just plot it out. Like, what is a possible scenario of 250 years from now? Like, what does it even look like? What does the United States look like at 500 years old?
It's very hard to know. I'll be very honest. I think it's very hard to know, even 5 years from now, how it's going to look like.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
5 years ago was like...
5 years ago, whoever is at the topmost in AI, I don't even consider myself like that, but whoever is at the most frontier level of decision making in AI 5 years ago, I don't think they predicted the exact state we are in today. Nobody did. If they did, they would have already procured all the compute and manufactured all the chips, bought out all the fabs. They would have done all that, right? Just this is counterfactual. Everyone's like bottlenecked by not having enough compute and we don't have enough chips, we don't have enough power. These are all the problems that if you invite anybody in AI and ask what is the bottleneck in AI today, and everybody would say power. I think Jensen was here and he said the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But okay, if you predicted this exact state 5 years before, wouldn't you have secured enough power and started building more power plants yourself and started getting permits and started planning out capacity? No, nobody did that. Nobody, right. Everything is reactive to the demand that we're having today. So,
and that's just 5 years.
Yeah, that's just 5 years. So when you ask me to predict 250 years, I just have to honestly say I don't know.
Do you ever sit back and think about it though?
I do think about it.
What it could be?
I do think about it. So there are a lot of fun. I use Perplexity a lot for these kind of things, especially this new feature computer inside it. And This is just for hypothetical scenarios. Let's say there is an AGI, right? And I've seen you ask a lot of people about this, and a lot of conventional answers is like, oh, like we'll just become managers of the AIs. Don't worry. But if the price of cognition is the price of compute, managing an AI is also pretty much doable by the AI itself, because the bottleneck is not like unique cognition capability there. So the value of the society will